Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Questing Onward. I'm Whitney.
And I am Ashton.
And we would love to welcome you to our little tiny podcast where we talk about all things nerdy, marriage, and a little bits about our life. So for announcements.
I'm son. Yeah, we just got everything up on YouTube is probably the most recent one. And then please swing on in there if you get a second. We really do appreciate it. And thanks again for all of the messages, heartfelt communication messages sent to us. We really appreciate them and love to hear them. And we love the feedback, honestly. So thank you guys. If you see us, let us know your thoughts, honest thoughts. We love honest thoughts because they help us get better. So thank you.
So for today, our topic is the guessing game. Recently on social media and in a lot of marriages, I've noticed that there is concept of the guessing game where one spouse will think they should just know what I'm thinking. They should just know what I'm feeling. They should just know I need help in this area of my life. And we wanted to address that today and how we overcome that and how we handle that in our relationship. So, Ashton, my dear beloved,
Yes.
have you seen that in our relationship where I will have an expectation that you are not meeting, such as I expect when you get home that I need hands-on help with the kids as soon as you get through the door?
Yes.
Has that happened to you before?
Of course.
What are some examples of things that I may have done that are the guessing game?
I think, I don't know, specific examples may be hard, but I think like the most common ones are like, I don't know if I don't know if I can give that. They're almost always like retroactively. So it's almost like there was like this expectation that was never communicated. And then so it's like a matter of me just like being like, is she mad? And then it's just like talking about that. It's like, well, you never talked to me about that. Like, I didn't know. And it's just like, just assuming I knew. So like, I don't know if there's like specifics, but it's always like in retrospect. And then after like talking about it, there was never expectations set. And so it's just like, you were just frustrated for like, not necessarily no reason, because obviously there's some justification of the frustration, right? But like with no communication, which is like, okay, that's not fair. So like, I think that happens not like super regularly anymore. It happened a lot more at the beginning of a relationship, but not as much anymore.
Yes. And I think a lot of that is I would be really overwhelmed, overtired, and I would need help. And I think on social media, they put it pretty well, actually, where a husband's job, and this can go both ways for a wife as well, but generally speaking, it's about a husband.
Yeah.
But a husband's job isn't just to provide, and it's not my job as your wife to be your mom. I think that's usually the common phrase. And there's this concept of, well, he needs to parent. He needs to help with the household.
Yeah.
He needs to take care of his laundry, take care of his socks, take care of his dishes. Whatever that looks like, he needs to be contributing to the household, to the parenting. He needs to be involved in that. He is not just the provider. He's also a husband and a father. And so I think that they're typically in the older generation, there have been examples of that where it was more just to provide and there was a loss, I think, on the spousal and the parenting side. But how would you say you try and contribute and you try and combat those things?
That's a good question. I feel like first and foremost, I don't know. I guess I start with like, I agree and I disagree with the statement. Like, I think that like, I don't know. I think, again, every relationship could be slightly different. Like, so I don't feel like what I'm about to say is always like exactly how it has to be. And I think that's like the point of it is like, there is the communication aspect that needs to happen. So like, for example, I'll just give like a couple different examples. It's like, and I think that I guess to fundamentally answer your question, it's communication. Like, you just talk about it, right? So like, not that long ago, I was actually talking to a bunch of my guys or just a bunch of my friends and the guys, and one of them was talking about like doing, I swear it was like laundry or something. I was like, yeah, I don't really do laundry. Like, I just don't. Like, I'll help occasionally, but very rarely, only when you ask me to, right? And he was talking about that and was talking about his experience, how he just helps all the time with laundry. And I made the comment and I was like, yeah, I don't really do that. And he would just like look at me like mortified. It was just like, how dare you? Like, and like, I could tell there's like this little bit of judgment in his eyes of like, how dare you do that? And then in my back of my mind, I'm just like, I don't know, it's not that, that's just not part of the delegation of responsibilities that we take care of. Now on the flip side, like, I cook more often than you, right? Like, I definitely am, I'm the cook here.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing for our kids because I am a better cook too. And
Follow a recipe. I cannot cook from scratch pull it out of a hat, pull it out of the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Just a random recipe. I'm not a bad cook, okay?
she's a good cook, but I'm a better cook. But and so I think like a big part of this is like I cook fairly often, like very regularly, right? And like I've said that around my guy friends. They look at me like she just doesn't do her job, and like which is not true at all. And so I think that like ultimately the most important thing is the communication aspect of this. And I think like that's what matters because like there is going to be like some push and pull. There is going to be some give and take. It's not, and I think we kind of talked about it last week, but it was like, it's not all about like we're equally yoked, right? We do things together. So I think there's actually a podcast I was listening to just the other day, or it was actually earlier today, where they were talking about the idea of like when we're married, like they were saying when we got married, I understood that I was getting into a relationship where it was all about I was giving 100% to that relationship. And so it's not a matter of like, I'm here to 100% serve. So it's not a matter of, am I right or am I wrong? Am I pulling like, is he doing enough or is she doing enough? It's just the job needs to get done. So we're just going to pull together. And so I think that's like the most important part about this concept to me is just that you talk about it. But it's not a cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. It's not guys do this, girls do this. It's a communication of your unique experiences and where one needs to help, coming into the perspective of we work together.
I think one of the ways that we combat this as well is, again, we've said this a lot. This is our famous phrase, set proper expectations. We sit down and we talk about each of these things. Who's going to take the trash out? Who's going to be in charge of dishes? If I need help putting kids down for bed, helping Eliza with homework. There are all of these little tiny things that we discuss and we talk about who is in charge of that thing. So we each know what our role is and what our job is. We've set that expectation. And that doesn't mean that Ashton's never going to help me put the kids to bed or he's never going to help take the trash out. Not at all. On the contrary, I know my job. He knows my job. If he sees I'm behind or I'm struggling for the day, he is more than happy to step in and help.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And then we reevaluate constantly. This is not something that is set in stone. Well, we said this 7 years ago. It's true today. This is something that is constantly evolving, constantly changing. And obviously, different times, there's different needs, there's different energy levels. And this is something that we're constantly talking about.
And I think it's, like you said it really well, it's the idea of we are working together for the common cause and we like, yeah, with one struggling, the other one should be willing and seeking to step up. It's what a marriage is about. Like, in my opinion, like, ladies and gentlemen, you got married, you're here to give 100% of you to that other person, should be at least, right? And so I think that that's a big part of it too, is like, be willing to ask for help when you need it. And then as a spouse, like, freaking be willing to give the help. Don't like, when the moment's needed and you can tell your spouse needs it, like, I think there are times where you do have to like encourage the spouse to step up. Like, you know, we just have to do it. We have to figure it out and like we have to work together and it's going to be hard and I'm sorry. Like there are times for those conversations, but more often than not, I found those are few and far between. Like just do what you can to help the other person out. And like if your husband comes home from a long day, like ladies, like, and they're having a hard time, just do what you can to make them feel loved and valued. And just like, I promise will go a long way. And like vice versa. Sometimes like when your wife comes home and when you come home, you can tell your wife's stressed out, tired. Like if you just like are proactive, like, hey, go take a bath. I got you. Like I'll take care of the kids. Like that goes a long way. So like just like actively seek on both ends to like, it is a give and take. It's here to serve. So I think that's like huge in this. Is it's not cookie cutter. It's not always one way or the other. Depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm. I would add as well that we can be very passive aggressive at times, and that's not helping anyone. And so if there's something on your mind, just going to your spouse and saying it, you're skipping a whole step of arguing. And I would also add, I think that there are moments in our marriage where we'll have just a little sliver of something. And you're really good at this, where if you're feeling a little bit of disrespect or maybe that you're not being appreciated, you're very quick to come and talk to me about that. And that's something that I've struggled with is sometimes it takes me a minute to put it into words or I'll let it fester for too long. And then there's this buildup. of frustration, of anger, and I let it go for too long. And we can't let that happen. And I think, again, going to your spouse, talking to them, that's just going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.